The Pope's passing certainly hits hard in Chicago. Pope Francis appointed Blase Cupich as Archbishop of Chicago in 2014 and then elevated him to Cardinal in 2016.
I sat down with Cardinal Cupich to talk about his relationship with the Pope, what's ahead with this conclave, and where the church goes from here. If you could point to one thing that you'll always remember that he taught you, what would that be?
He had a palpable sense of the real presence of Jesus, not just as somebody who rose from the dead 2,000 years ago, but was active now. And he always tried to look for where Christ, who is alive in the church, is leading us.
Pope Francis took stands on some issues that people, even within the church, took exception to. He spoke out in support of immigrants, the LGBTQ community, as you mentioned, diversity, inclusion in the church. And his words were, if not misconstrued, maybe interpreted in ways that were convenient perhaps to an ideology and met with resistance.
Yes, and I think that you've hit it exactly right. He was against ideologies. He wanted to make sure that, as he said, reality is greater than ideas. What's the reality of people's lives? That's what he wanted to be in touch with.
The reality, though, Cardinal, as you and I both know, in this day and age,
yes,
it's hard to be middle of the road. These are issues that are quite divisive, not just in society, but within the church.
Yes, I think there are people in the church who disagree. But can't we come to a common ground with regard to the immigration issue? It's been said that the deportation protocols that the nation wanted to follow would make sure that we secured our borders and that streets would be safe from any criminals. Nobody's against that. I think we want to do that. But how do you deal with the fact that we have a broken immigration system that is not due to the people who have come here, but by the lack of initiative on the part of elected officials over generations to deal with it?
Everyone saw Conclave, Cardinal, so everyone's interested in what happens next. How much can you tell us about what you think will come out of that?
Well, I didn't see the movie Conclave, but I didn't see Barbie.
You live it.
I didn't see Barbie either, so. Well, I don't know. All I know is that I see the rules for how it's going to be done. I'm going to go there and learn. I'm a novice at this. Some of the cardinals have been to other conclaves earlier. They've been to the one in 2013. So I'm going to be quiet and listen to see what's asked of us and do my best to participate.
I wasn't sure if this was an appropriate question, but several people asked me on the way in. Is there any chance you could become the next pope?
Oh, I think that anybody who would fantasize about that should double the dose of their medication.
Not going to happen. You do get a vote, though, Cardinal.
Yes.
Do you foresee any dramatic changes in the church in the near future?
Well, I think one thing that we need to keep in mind is that whenever there's a new bishop appointed, whether it's a bishop of Rome or whatever, the church doesn't talk about a replacement. They talk about a successor. So who's going to take what's happened and succeed it and move forward?
So same-sex marriage, contraception, homosexuality, medical aid in dying, is there room for change on any of these issues in the future?
I think there's always room for making sure that we listen to people who are struggling with these issues so that we become a listening church, not only a teaching church. And I think that's where the important difference is.
When I look back at Pope Francis, I see images of him smiling. It's what sort of sticks with me the most. What would you say will stick with you the most?
Well, I think it is. He's a regular person. He's a regular guy. He has an ease with people. He likes being with people. That's the kind of person he was. He was an individual who liked people.
The Cardinal told me he is now filled with grief, but calmed by a sense of gratitude and appreciation for having known Francis as well as he did and being alive and elevated to Cardinal at this point in time in the church with this particular Pope. So it's personal for him.
Right.
And personal for the church as well, to hear the Cardinal talk about it.
Well, and as you mentioned, he gets a say. It's interesting to see that he doesn't think that he could potentially be the Pope down the line.
Well, he didn't really answer that, you know.
Double their medication.
Well, right, but then I said, so it's not a possibility, and he said, smiled. I mean, you never know. You can't vote for yourself, as Chris Ty pointed out earlier, but we'll see where that goes and how long it takes. But he's excited to be a part of it this time. Hadn't seen the movie, though, so he's going to live it.
Yes, real life.
Yeah.
Okay.